making a video. I guess I'll turn on the light. Ooh, how harsh and brutal. Speaking of, and so will to comfort. Okay, so that's a line I threw at him. So I was leaving Piero's room the other night because they weren't going to get to the real subject of anything, and so of course he's interpreted it into something quite bizarre, when all it is basically a statement saying, look, as I did say in the conversation, your will is whatever, you have lots of agenda, and your will just turns out to be the agenda that wins. So there could be two circumstances. You're hungry, there's a big pile of food, there's bears, and you saw a bear 5 minutes ago, so you're just like, well, I'll wait, okay, because no bears for half an hour sounds better than no bears for 5 minutes. And so it's your will ends up being, I will protect myself, I'll be a chicken, I'll be a sissy. And if you chose to get the food, it would be your will to get the food. And yes, so whatever wins is what your will is, but technically it's not what you really will. The will is a much more complicated thing. Yeah, you wanted the food, you just didn't want the harassment of the bear. But you can't have what you want. And so that's really what we're talking about. So maybe people ought to just change the phrase. Instead of saying free will, they ought to say free want. Yeah, does our want come from nowhere? Is our want free? Our wants are made out of real desires, real mechanisms that create deprivations and unpleasantness in us, and that we are compelled to satisfy a condition. And we're made uncomfortable. We're distracted till the condition is met. Alright, so anyway, that's the premise of the background, let's say. So this video, he's saying, is some sort of reasonable interpretation of my argument, which it isn't, in the sense that he's implying that by saying will to comfort, that I'm somehow advocating for a Walmart society or something, or that I'm saying people should just eat donuts all day, that the only comfort is short-term comfort. None of those things were anything overtly implied, not even implied. And certainly from my past videos, I don't think anybody could reasonably think I would advocate that people live hedonistically or for the moment. I would argue that, no, you should do that bear thing. You should be cautious. Careful. Because there's lots of mistakes to be made. And the mistakes have an implication on other people, most importantly. I mean, certainly people's own welfare. I'd suggest that they don't do certain things just for their own good health, just for their own benefit, just so they don't have to live with a liability of being paralyzed by some stupid adventurism. So I'd say, yeah, if you can find some other way to jerk off, besides doing it on top of Mount Everest, yeah, find some other way. It's really stupid. Yeah, there's other ways to get off. And that's really what it is. It's will to get off. It's will to obtain a state of mind where you aren't motivated, where you've got all you need, where you're satiated, comfortable, warm bath, Calgon, take me away. I really don't need to have a phone. I don't need to text anyone. I don't need to do a goddamn thing. I have all I need. I have my bliss. Yes, that's it. Will to comfort. That's what I'm describing. Completion. You complete me. Will to completion. That's what we have. A will to completion. And some of our desires make completion practically impossible. Hunger will show up. You're never going to be completed in terms of satisfying that desire. And sex, for some of us, lingers on. It keeps saying, hello, take care of this, and you have to take care of it. I almost wanted to make a video response to Thunderfoot. Maybe I will, but I mean, he's just such an asshole. Anyway, there's a simple argument about, not having sex with drunk women. And yet, in theory, you don't do. If it's the first time you're having sex, it's a really bad way to write a contract with a new person when they're drunk. It's just tacky. Okay, that's something a capitalist would do. Yeah, let's get the poor drunk, and then get them to sign their life away. And we know it's just terrible in terms of what the consequences are, which is unintended pregnancies and disease transmission and all kinds of negative things happen. So it's not something to defend, but yeah, certainly nothing to outlaw or, it's not rape. I mean, it's just kind of silly to call it rape. But like I said, it depends on the circumstance. If it's some woman who gets drunk all the time, well, then yeah, she's kind of doing it on purpose. I want to be raped. Drunk rape, or whatever you want to call that. But there's other circumstances where this is a person who's never had that much to drink and they're totally fucked up, and you really don't want to take advantage of that circumstance, and that is a kind of rape. It is a kind of exploitation and abuse. And but more importantly, I guess the point I really wanted to make was just even advocating for these kinds of one-night standy sexual relationships. You might as well just be saying to women, look, I need to masturbate, and I would like to masturbate in your vagina. That's all it is. I mean, it's just, and that's kind of like, okay, I might have thought that way when I was 13, but yeah, as you get a little older, you can figure out, no, there are a lot of better ways to masturbate. I could climb Mount Everest and do it. But I mean, there's a ton of ways I can do this. I can satisfy my desire without exploiting somebody in a compromised mental condition. I mean, it's just bogus. But yeah, the fact that some feminists will say it in some way over the top rhetoric, oh, of course, that means there's no kernel of truth. Ugh, this is so stupid. Well, anyway, back to this stupid fuck. So anyway, I'm sorry to interrupt with that. It just happened. I just said I don't want to make a whole video to thunder douchebag about a stupid. I mean, he's making videos against 12-year-old girls or whatever she is. Take on a real target, pussy. Anyway, yeah. So he's portraying this. He used Homer Simpson as the icon for this video, and isn't that the whole point, though? Okay, is that it is accurate. I'm not advocating for people living like Homer Simpson. The conversation of the video was, how are humans constructed? And the fucking truth is, they're constructed like Homer Simpson. That's why we have Walmart. That's how human beings are, generally speaking, constructed. They want simple answers to complex problems. They keep thinking, if I keep buying shit, I'll be happy. They keep thinking a gadget is going to do it. These are stupid. They don't understand the mechanism, the compulsive mechanisms running inside of them. So they can't sit there and disengage them because they don't have the sense to know them. So it's like some man, okay, I'll bring up sex again because it's just fun. A man with premature ejaculation problems. Now, all the sex therapists will tell you, even women can figure this out. It's such a common feature of male sexuality that what you have to do is just slow down. And if you pay attention to what you're feeling, you can feel yourself getting to that point where you're not going to be able to come back, so to speak, uncome. And you can know when that's happening, and that's when you do the whatever. Think about grandma. Stop. Slow down. Do whatever you need to do to, put it off a little while. And that's what you can learn to do with all desire and all mechanisms. You can learn to masturbate creatively, and you can learn to drink coffee creatively. You can learn to do anything in a creative and manipulative way, in the sense that you know certain signals, you know how to exploit those through practice, and you can enhance the experience by saying, I'm going to set myself up for the experience. Now I do that some days. I'll wake up intentionally early, as some discomfort, okay, and I'm going to accept that little bit of discomfort to go outside and kind of watch the sunrise. I mean, you know, it rises through trees and it's in the wrong direction, so I basically just watch the yard brighten with a nice cup of coffee and a cigarette if I have one. And the birds are chirping and such, and just the quiet, and I just enjoy the serenity. Now, I do that because it's an enjoyable thing to do now and then, and it's reflective, and you sometimes come up with new ways of thinking because it puts you in a mood, okay, an undistracted kind of, you get some air, you know, it just has a thing to it that somehow can make me sometimes more productive, or just as an experience, it's tingly. You know, it does something for you. It's sort of arousing, even. And these are enjoyable sensations, and so that's what we're playing for. So anyway, you know, in the comment series, well, anyway, so I'll just finish on the video. So he's just making this implication that somehow I'm advocating for Homer Simpson, when what I'm really saying is that's the nature of the human monkey, and it's only people that acquire some knowledge or some culture who can figure out that there's much better, you can make this experience much better, okay, by being romantic, by doing it right, and not doing it sloppy. And, you know, that this is a better way to personally live, in terms of getting more out of your consciousness and your conscious experiences, not wasting the opportunities for serenity, and you know, getting as much as you can out of them instead of just pissing them away, so to speak, in, you know, a matter of 3 minutes. You know, play with it, and you can figure out how to play it so it's a better game. Desire you can do that with desire. So, and then towards the end, he's ragging on Benatar as being a hedonist too, and saying, you know, you're wrong, Mr. Benatar, as if this was a real argument that Benatar made, which he didn't. But he does make the sensible argument that, yes, human beings migrate towards these pleasurable experiences and migrate away from the negative experiences. Now, Anaconda would like you to believe that, no, suffering is in and of itself fun. I know that doesn't make any sense, right? The word is established to describe sensations that are of no fun value. And yet he is going to argue that he enjoys that, not for some purpose, but just as an experience. So if I was to put some sand under his eyelids and scratch his eyeballs, and he was to be, for the rest of the day, irritated, he would say, well, this is a great experience. I got to do this more often. You know, maybe I could drill a little hole in his tooth, you know, and, you know, he could enjoy the sensations of pain for the fun of it, you know, just because pain's fun. And that's kind of it's just a silly argument. And he's kind of got caught. I mean, it was so easy to catch him, you know, in the comment section here. So I guess I'll play some, I'll read some of that just to point out just how obviously deceptive he is. So anyway, he did say something in the end here about ephilism and stuff, so I should play maybe this ending part, because it's just such a lie, and it's, it's a lie because, you know, look, I have made so many videos and so many of these subjects, I haven't been unclear. I've been fairly explicit, and it's just fucking wrong to misparaphrase my position so grotesquely. Now he's accepting that he may have done that in this video, which is the funny part at the end of the video, and he's saying, I'll accept your blah blah blah. Well, frankly, the point is this having to make these kinds of corrections, all right, that are so overtly, obviously manipulative. It seems like that's whatever they call that. You know, they have a word for that. You know, passive-aggressive thing or whatever, or gaslighting or whatever. They have some fucking stupid term for this, playing a psychological game where you know it's absolute crap, and you're just setting up the circumstance and then negating the circumstance by saying, oh, my bad, before you did it. You know, I mean, it's sort of bullshit. Well, it is bullshit. It's a bullshit way to have a conversation. It's dishonest is what it is fundamentally. And frankly, of all the egregious crimes people commit, dishonesty in the conversation is just a huge crime. Anyway, so Glenos pointed out the obvious. Okay, you're doing this, whatever, your 3-hour bike ride to get to, Park Wonderful, because, yeah, there's something good enough in the pleasure to accept some pain. You can almost argue that anybody who takes care of themselves physically fit, they always have to do this shit. They have to say, okay, I can't eat as much as I want, and I have to do this exercise thing, and it sucks, but they do it. And then some of it isn't totally unpleasant. Okay, some of it isn't. It is kind of fun to get physically invigorated, stimulated. So some exercise is fun, but there's a point where it's no fun at all. And sometimes, the first, like if you're a runner, the first mile can kill you, and then it gets easy, that kind of thing, So you have to kind of know these truths about circumstances so you can find the strength or courage or will to endure it, because it's like passing over the small pile of food and walking the extra 2 miles, because that's going to slow you down if you eat it, and going for the big pile with the blueberry pie and stuff. It's waiting for the better meal. And that isn't exactly the same as loving the pain. No, it's not the same at all. So anyway, he got caught on it, because, he says here, you probably wouldn't do the bike riding if it didn't bring with it pleasures that you deem worth the sacrifice. What kind of pleasures do you imagine I experience while riding my bike? You don't experience them riding your bike, as you stated in your video. You said it out loud. You get this invigorating euphoria, or whatever you called it. Gleno says the right word. He says it. So anyway, and then Logic Rolls the Dice guy got on a whole other tangent here and just kept going on and on. I didn't find it at all very interesting. But Logic Rolls the Dice is like, he left some snarky comment on my video. Not snarky, but just, I already stated in my video, right, on consciousness, that you're never going to probably know the exact mechanism that creates the illusion, that creates the theater. There's a minimum amount of brain that creates this thing where you'll hear a little ouch, you'll have a little negative thing happening. But you're probably not going to be able to build one of those, because you don't have any way to test it. You'd have to basically torture some sort of victim to find this thing, or make one of these Frankensteins. And you have to wait to see how its behavior correlated to what it was feeling, to be able to create one. So you basically have to torture something to make one, but you couldn't make one from a theory. So I don't think you're going to find a theory. But anyway, it doesn't really matter. It's not on the subject of this video, for fuck's sake. And, well, I mean, his comment, the video he was responding to, but anyway, and he said something. What was the point he was making? Oh yeah, and I'd stayed in the video. So I had stayed in the video. It's probably not something you're going to be able to get to. And then he said, and his comment was implying like I hadn't even mentioned that, and he need to inform me that you haven't explained this. And I said, well, I said in the video, I'm not explaining that. I'm explaining the context evolutionarily why we have a consciousness. Why? Exactly how it mechanically works, you're going to have to go into some dark layers of brain mechanics, because it goes deep. There's a small brain, okay, not a very big brain that's doing this. Fucking insects, for Christ's sakes. I mean, look at the talents they have. They can, like a wasp, for example, it can go out and mine wood, okay, turn it into paper. It can fly to do all of that. It can find food, feed its grubs, make a home for them that's durable. And it's got a little tiny, tiny brain. So I'm just saying it's going to be a while before we know how the theater is constructed. But it is, in fact, constructed by biology, and I think that's enough to know. And the only part that's really relevant is how are we, what parts of our psychology are total manipulations of DNA agenda, survival of the fittest nonsense, and what aspects of our conscious experience have some sort of legitimate and real integrity as something worthy of preservation. I'd say none, but whatever, let's not get into that. Alright. Can anyone do anything that has no payoffs? Now here it is. The wonderful atavistic feeling. So there you go. So that's what Anticonabot actually said in his video. You get. So he's caught him on his bullshit, because here he's implying that he doesn't need any payoff, and yet he stated right in his video there was a payoff. Can anyone do anything that has no payoffs, which are reducible to comfort, or negation of discomfort, or avoidance of worse discomfort, or, yes, not necessitated by your penis is too small and you're worried about it. Whatever it is, this ego crap, I need to further validate my fantasticness. I need to earn some more Boy Scout badges by doing something ludicrous. I need some more fodder for the book I'm writing about how wonderful I am. I can't write a book about how wonderful I am if I don't go do something wonderful and fantastic. Yes, but it all comes down to some sort of crap like that. So, Anticonabot perfectly says, can anyone do anything that has no payoffs? Blah, blah, blah. I can. There you go. So he's making the argument that he does things that are uncomfortable and unpleasant for the fun of it. Not because there's some payoff, not because he's going to get anything good out of it or any likelihood of anything good out of it. He just does something unpleasant that no part of his psychology is going to gain benefit from, for the fun of the discomfort. He says he can do that. First I say he can't do that, and the only way he could do it is as a way of demonstrating, see, I'm right. That's the only way you could do it. You're like, yeah, I can walk I could walk across a whole charcoal-laden fire pit or whatever. I mean, these are all tricks, right? Most of the Buddhist tricks are tricks, except for the ones where they actually light themselves on fire. But all the rest of them are tricks. You know, they never really do the nail your testicle to a board thing. So let's, you know, what do I have to suggest, right? I mean, wear shoes that are too small all day, you know, for the fun of it. You know, like I said, scratch your eyes for with a little bit of grit, you know, and tell me that's fun. Stick a pencil in your ear. I mean, you know, it's just stupid. Yeah, you would pointlessly endure discomfort for no payoff. You know, they have a word for that. It's called the psychotic. So, and again, the subject was human consciousness, human will to comfort as a notion for describing human beings, not you. You're not the average human being, and you're especially not anywhere close to the average human being if you endure discomfort for the fun of it, for no payoff, not for expedience, not for, I mean, people endure discomfort for expedience, right? They'll put on pants that are too tight because they're in a rush, and they'll just say, oh, fuck it, right? But they don't do it for the fun of it. Alright, let's see what else. Yeah, so I guess summing up, you know, I think it's worth describing, you know, some of these mechanisms, but, you know, in terms of understanding want and desire, and understanding that they come in these different forms. Some of our desires, like food and sex, are really crude. I mean, food, you know, and they exist in a certain shape that our personal experience and preferences shape further. So, I mean, obviously we have a taste for food that isn't poisonous or spoiled, so there's certain rules of realm of reasonable food, descriptions of food. But clearly some people can enjoy a good chocolate covered bug and other people cannot enjoy that. So these tastes are quite mutable. And certainly people can make decisions that rule out whole classes of food, like becoming vegetarian, because it's easy to do, because there's a ton of shit to eat, and a ton of choices, and especially if you wait till you're hungry to eat, frankly, you can eat bread. Bread's pretty cool when you're really hungry. So it's not really a problem. It's like, if you're really horny, masturbating will do. Not the best, but it's better than nothing, right? And it's perfectly satisfying in the end. Well, the end's never perfectly satisfying. That's sort of the game, right? Yeah, the real end is kind of a downer. Before you get to the real end is kind of the upper. But anyway, well, it's on the way downer. But anyway, um, all right, ready for more. That's like the ideal. It's like when you just can't. Yeah, that really wasn't enough. Let's do it some more. That's when it really gets fun. Anyway, so yeah, this was all bullshit. So it's just his statement. I can. So that's another. It's a good place to understand what this conversation is really about, which is optimizing. Um, and there's only two things to optimize. What's the optimum method, function? There's only two things to optimize, right? How much you're having fun, comfortable, blissful. So how much of this nonsense you can do without, so to speak. I don't need to put money in the vending machine because I don't need the shit that comes out of the vending machine, right? It's like I can get rid of the cable bill by not watching TV. I could do lots of things and just say, yeah, it's fine without it. I don't need that. So I can minimize what I need to be happy. Some people need a different woman every night. I'd say that was silly, right? I'd say that was extravagant, nonsensical. Some people need a Lamborghini in the driveway. Some women, need fresh flowers in the house, and they can't have one speck of dust anywhere. So, pretty high maintenance, right? This is a real term. And that's sort of what we're talking about. What's your functionality? So I could argue that lots of things can do your I can thing about lots of different things. I canning about enjoying pain or suffering for the fun of it. Doing it for the fun of the visceral discomfort. You know, eating some poison gob, just so you can have the fun of throwing it up. Yeah, sure. I don't believe you do that, but whatever. Um, so, but yeah, we can construct people that do that, right? Retarded people can do stuff like that. But the other point is too, retarded people don't need anything. They don't need baseball to exist. They don't need NASCAR to exist. They don't need almost anything to exist except for pink balloons and lollipops. I mean, pretty much. They're so simple. It's so easy. Give them a hug. Give them a lollipop. Let them chase a pink balloon or bubbles. Let them go chase bubbles for a few hours, and they're in their bliss. So their bliss isn't hard to acquire. Now you can argue that your bliss is somehow better because you can appreciate ballet or something, or you can appreciate English cheese, and you can tell the difference between English cheese and South English cheese and West English cheese or something. And you can make the argument somehow that's better satisfaction. I don't think it is. I think it's the same fucking mechanism. You're either comfortable or you're not. Okay, you either need to do something to elevate your condition because somehow you're not satisfied with yourself. My dick's not big enough, so I have to go climb Mount Everest so I can show the woman the badge, and she'll think my dick is an inch bigger then. I mean, is there something else going on? No, there's nothing else going on. So I can argue to you quite sincerely, you think you've optimized yourself in some stupid way, which I don't even understand. I like pain, some. And I somehow, um, I don't bother myself with, worries or sympathy or fear or, any of this, any of that kind of stuff. I just kind of focus on, you know, what I can sit on and whether I can move my ass around right on it to make it feel good. And that's about all you're doing. Like, you know, dildo magic. Um, but I could argue that it's even better. Okay, this idea that you have found comfort in your misery or in pain. It's even easier if you just find comfort in not chasing in the first place. I don't need it. If you eviscerate the need and just pretend you have satisfied the condition, it's the same. You're done, you're just as completed as if you actually climbed Mount Everest. If I just say my penis is big enough, I don't need to climb Mount Everest, fine, I win. I'm done. I'm completed. I don't need to complete anything other than there's no other questions on the test that need answering anymore. It's like once I say I don't need a car or I don't have a car, I don't have to explain what color it is or what kind of seats it has I don't have to answer all those questions. They're just negated. And so I could argue to you that it's much more efficient to be a person that doesn't need any of that shit. And certainly doesn't need to procreate or to, you know, replay the game over and over in some stupid, inefficient manner, bury some more people in some earthquakes for no real good reason. You're not gonna be able to demonstrate to me, obviously, that there's any real accomplishment in your Mount Everest bullshit. That this is somehow better than a retard stroking his pink balloon. It's nothing better. There's no grander accomplishment. You've just satisfied your tasks to be completed to make yourself feel like you are somebody. Um, yeah, I don't have that problem. And so I could argue that I would be a much more efficient model for human because, yeah, this model doesn't need to torture any children, doesn't need to make any messes, doesn't need to do any of that nonsense to be perfectly comfortable with the idea of being here and being done with being here. I'm not afraid to be dead. I'm not afraid I'm afraid of dying. I don't like the whole idea of being tortured for no good particular reason. To spend the last days on Earth being tortured. That doesn't sound like a great idea. So certainly I figure on sliding out before any of the scalpels get too close. But yeah, there's no need to do anything else. I don't need some other generation to satisfy any condition. So it's so much doner. It's so much more complete. So you're the one with the unsatisfied mission that I have to send somebody else into the world to go climb a mountain because they have a small penis. I'm just saying, why create the small penis in the first place? It's just a dumb idea. I mean, it just makes you an idiot. From my perspective, it's just pointless and wasteful. And you certainly can't make an argument that human beings are doing anything on this planet worthy of the suffering and the torture that takes place for it. We're just as ignorable as the Martians who don't exist. It's just a fact. You can write nothing. You can say nothing, that's ever going to make any sense to me of this idea that it is an imperative that stupid biological organisms, which you won't really take responsibility for, have a perception, a notion in their head that somehow they're accomplishing something when they're not. They're just wanking. And then trying to glorify it as some magnificent accomplishment. It's not. All you're doing is fulfilling your agenda lists. When you're born, the agenda begins. You will be deprived and denied, and you will have to go seek. And you want to glorify that? And I'm saying that's just wasting energy. That's creating a problem to be solved rather than just saying, okay, do the Homer Simpson thing philosophically. Just recognize that you're The only place you want to be in the end is on the couch in your underpants. So why fuck with this bullshit? That's utopia. And it is. So, anyway. It's just such a... so anyway. Yeah, so it's a will to comfort, but the thing you will want, it's a want to comfort. And obviously you have more than one want. So you have to, hopefully, with some application of intelligence, you have to, your brain will navigate, hopefully intelligently, through your want list and attempt to efficiently satisfy those wants that really need to be satisfied. Anyway, and certainly recognize that there's an implication to the world, to the other wanty things, and that most of those implications are negative. You will consume their welfare to obtain your comfort. And it's a fact. And it's not a good fact. And that's the fact you're evading. So anyway, I believe that's enough. Sorry, it's longer than it should be. But look, it's all psychology, and all psychology is crap. Contrived crap. Contrived by natural selection. So that's another concept he doesn't seem to have any, he doesn't buy it. There is no natural selection. Natural being environmental selection. He doesn't believe that the environment over 4 billion years has selected organisms to pass on DNA based on them conforming to certain rules. And it doesn't do it very efficiently. Obviously there's no fairness built in. It makes a ton of mistakes. Evolution over time probably killed lots of great innovations, because they just weren't able to be better immediately. They just needed a little time to mature, or a little more advantage, a little help, a little subsidy, and then they could have been brilliant. But, there was no mechanism. It's like the gazelle being born with twice as much brains. It might take a while for it to run as fast as the other gazelles. But it's not going to be given that opportunity to learn how to run as fast, even though it can do calculus. Anyway, yeah. But that's what made us, and that's where all of this necessity for accomplishment and achievement and your atavistic whatever feelings are just a byproduct of. You're being played by a molecule. A molecule is pulling the strings. That's it. And the only thing that'll save you from that is rigorous attention to the facts of context. If you get the facts of context wrong, you'll see nothing. But if you get it right, it gives you a vision of reality where you can understand and you can see that it's layered with trapdoors that will have little to do with it, that there is waste and squander as its primary function. That's what intelligence will show you, and you will see that none of this is worth it. You will know, just as you can look at somebody like at the Olympics curling or doing some silly fucking sport, and you can just say, why the fuck would they invent something so stupid? Or you can watch a woman, say man, you can watch a woman watching a soap opera and just be, oh, what a waste of neurons. And yet they'll watch their baseball game. And it's exactly the same thing. But they think it's better. Like the guy at the ballet, thinking he's all having a big, profound experience. And he's not doing anything probably even as good, okay, as some retard with a 12-inch dick whacking off. Just a fact.